Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely brilliant concept called attention forest. It's an idea designed specifically to help us reclaim our minds from the exhausting grip of doom scrolling. You know the exact feeling I'm talking about, right? You grab your phone just to check one quick text, and suddenly, boom, 45 minutes have vanished, you're watching some stranger power wash a driveway, and you have absolutely zero idea how you even got there. Well, today, we're going to figure out exactly why that happens, and we're going to explore a really beautiful, structured alternative. Okay, so let's kick things off with a staggering piece of arithmetic. 11. The average person in 2024 spends about 6 to 7 hours a day glued to screens. Now, when you map that out over an entire lifetime, it adds up to over 11 years of their life spent purely on social media. Just let that sink in for a second. 11 years. You could learn 3 new languages, write a whole novel, or literally walk across a continent in that amount of time. But instead, it just kind of evaporates into the infinite feed. But here's the kicker. That evaporation of your time, it is definitely not an accident. It's deliberate engineering. These major platforms employ literal armies of behavioral psychologists and data scientists. Their one and only goal is to hold your attention at absolute peak engagement, just to generate more advertising inventory. Your attention is quite literally their product, and let's face it, they are incredibly good at extracting it. So what's the core mechanic behind this trap? It's something psychologists call a variable reward schedule. This concept is rooted in some 1950s experiments with pigeons, and it's simple but incredibly devious. Basically, your phone's infinite scroll is just an unpredictable lever. We press it compulsively, swiping, 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 hoping that the next one will dispense a little pellet of novelty, even though most of the time we get absolutely nothing. It's essentially a slot machine right there in your pocket. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that this behavior isn't some sort of character flaw. You aren't lazy, and you aren't weak for endlessly scrolling. What's actually happening is your neurology is being hijacked by the most successful attention capture system ever built. The algorithm serves advertisers, not you. Recognizing that this is just a neurological response to a meticulously designed trap, well, that is step one toward getting your time back. And man, the toll of this hijacking is very real. After a scrolling session, our dopamine actually drops slightly below its baseline. That's exactly why 60% of people report feeling worse about themselves after using social media. I mean, we scroll to relax, right? But we end up left with chronic low-level stress, messed up sleep, and the total exhaustion of constantly comparing ourselves to these impossible, highly curated highlight reels of other people's lives. So you might be wondering, why doesn't simple willpower or app blocking actually work? It all comes down to the deprivation trap. Psychological suppression just makes whatever you're avoiding that much more desirable. If you just block an app, your brain craves it even more. You can't just think your way out of a behavior your brain finds deeply rewarding. You literally have to replace the reward itself. And this is exactly where attention forest flips the script. It uses Charles Duhigg's classic psychology of the habit loop, cue, routine, reward. Instead of trying to fight the cue, like that sudden little pang of boredom or anxiety you get while waiting in line, it completely replaces the toxic routine of endless scrolling with a restorative one. You still get to satisfy your deep curiosity, you still get a mental break, but you do it without the toxic fallout. The real game changer here is shifting from infinite to finite. We're moving away from a never-ending stream of anxiety and outrage bait and replacing it with a finite, daily feed of exactly 20 carefully curated cards. These cards are packed with genuinely surprising facts, positive news, and deep wisdom. There's no manipulation here at all, just content that actually respects your intelligence and your highly valuable time. Now, here is where your screen time transforms into something you can actually feel. Rather than just doing mindless double taps, every single interaction has real weight. A simple like earns you 1 growth point. A save to your personal collection gets you 2. And if you take just a moment to write down a reflection, you earn 5 points. So your natural curiosity actually builds something tangible. As you accumulate these points, your whole digital space visually evolves through 6 distinct stages. You start out at stage 1, which is just a tiny little seedling in a clearing. But as those points grow, it transforms into a small grove, and eventually, once you hit 501 points, it becomes this thriving ancient forest. We're talking badgers, a massive oak tree, fireflies, the whole shebang. It becomes a gorgeous visual diary of your intentional focus. Which naturally brings up a pretty fascinating question for us to ponder. Why does a finite feed feel so incredibly good? Why does finishing your daily 20 cards feel so profoundly satisfying, especially when you compare it to that lingering ambient anxiety we get when we finally manage to force close a standard social media app? The answer actually lies in something called the Zygarnik effect. This is a quirky psychological tendency where our brains remember incomplete tasks way more strongly than completed ones. Infinite feeds create permanent cognitive tension because, by definition, they are never ever finished. Attention forest, on the other hand, gives you genuine psychological closure. You reach the end, you get a nice little summary, and you can put your phone down with actual relief. Now, we might also ask, why specifically choose a forest metaphor? Why not, say, a city building game or flying a spaceship? And how does looking at this specific type of natural environment actually go as far as changing our brain chemistry? Well, it's all backed by attention restoration theory. The basic idea is that observing nature, even just a gentle, simulated environment on a screen, engages what's known as soft, effortless fascination. It doesn't loudly demand your focus, it gently invites it in. This actively lowers your cortisol levels, reduces your blood pressure, and actually restores your brain's capacity for deep, directed focus. So the gentle colors and unhurried movements are quite literally part of the product. And for those of you wanting an even deeper immersive experience, there's a premium version for $4.99 a month that brings this to life beautifully. It uses this amazing animated canvas rendering system where your forest actually breathes. You can switch between all 4 seasons, birds fly across the sky in real, unique arcs, and in the summer, fireflies pulse magically right at dusk. It completely transforms your screen into a living, responsive ecosystem. But here's where it gets really amazing. Beyond the screen, this redirected attention has a profound real-world impact. Every single premium subscription funds a real tree planted through the verified charity One Tree Planted. Deforestation accounts for roughly 10% of global carbon emissions, and reforestation is hands down one of the most cost-effective climate interventions out there. So, as your virtual forest is growing, a literal, physical, breathing forest is growing in the real world. All right, I'll leave you with this final provocative thought to reflect on as we wrap up this explainer. What if 10 minutes of your attention every single day actually went somewhere worth going? What if, instead of just losing your time to the endless scroll, you left something truly beautiful behind, both in your own mind and out there in the real world?